Well, good morning to you race fans. Peter Mackay here, coming to you from a bright sunny morning at Watkins Glen in the east coast of the United States. This is free practice for today's Porsche Club of Great Britain 30 minutes of the Glen. You might have heard of the very famous 6 hours of the Glen race, due to be held this year at the end of June, but today we will go for just 30 minutes around this wonderful classic racetrack. As you'll see, our drivers have over an hour of free practice, an hour and 10 minutes of free practice, which has already begun. And as you'll see on the left hand side of your screen, as our drivers start to post lap times and start to arrive in the session, you'll start to see how they are getting on. So out on track we have last weekend's winner at Spa in the Sim Racing Championship Prologue, Matt Kilhenny. Will be running the number 1 plate today on his Porsche 911 RSR, and already setting a 142.248 straight out of the gate, straight out of bed into the sim rig, and setting a very fast lap time indeed. In second place at the moment, running the number 48, will be Toby Barlow. Toby Barlow, a brand new addition to the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing paddock, and Toby very kindly organising a 12-hour charity race at Snetterton next Saturday, which we will talk an awful lot about throughout the broadcast. Still spaces left on the grid, so do get in touch with Toby Barlow Racing on Facebook, and he'd be delighted to have your entry. All proceeds raised will be delivered to the NHS, who are doing such a wonderful job for us right now, looking after us all during this terrible coronavirus pandemic. During that broadcast of the 12 hours of Snetterton, I will be commentating for the whole 12 hours. That's part of my challenge, to watch the drivers go around for 12 hours around the wonderful Snetterton 300 circuit. So do tune in. It will be broadcast live on Twitch, Instagram, and also there'll be an audio feed live on Podbean on the Peter Mackay Motorsport podcast. So we'd love to have your company there. So Watkins Glen, the track that has been chosen for today's race, is one of the highlights of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship in real life, of course holding the iconic 6 hours of the Glen race. Although racing actually began in the beautiful Watkins Glen Park back in 1948 on the 2nd of October, when the first Watkins Glen Grand Prix was hosted. And it was a law student actually called Cameron Arkensinger who pioneered this early race at Watkins Glen. In 1961, Watkins Glen actually held its first ever Formula One Grand Prix, and for the next 15 years or so became a staple part of the Formula One calendar. And also the race, it was always held at the end of the season. So as you can imagine, in the fall, as they call it in the United States, with the leaves turning from green to gold, it was always a beautiful race for the drivers to finish their season in the Formula One World Championship. So we'll see. Oh, look at that. Matt Kilhenny in the number 1. He is on a mission. Now doing a 1 minute 42.0. He's been very quick in practice. Of course, last weekend's winner at Spa-Francorchamps in the 911 GT3 Cup cars. So the cars that we'll be using in today's race are a very different beast compared to what we used last week at Spa-Francorchamps. So although they're both 911s, but they are very, very different machines. So the 911 GT3 Cup car, which we used last week, is the car that's used in the Carrera Cup Series and the Mobil 1 Super Cup all over the world. The GT3 Cup car uses the very traditional 911 rear-engined layout, has no ABS, and is a little bit more towards a converted road car, whereas the car we're using today, the 911 RSR, is a pure-bred racer. So this 911 RSR, one of the most successful cars in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. It won the Drivers' Championship, in fact, the Porsche teams 912 and 911 came first and second in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship last year, with the 912 car of Lawrence Van Tor and Earl Bamber winning the championship in the final round at Road Atlanta, the Petit Le Mans 10-hour race. And then in second was Englishman Nick Tandy and Patrick Peely, who won last year's Watkins Glen 6-hour race. And of course the 911 RSR is the car that Porsche take to compete in the GT classes at the Le Mans 24 Hours, and donned in the beautiful pink pig livery, the car won in its class in 2018 with Michael Christensen, Kevin Estre and Lawrence Van Tor at the wheel. So this is a very successful race car that we're looking at on screen. Now, what's curious about this particular Porsche 911 race car is that it's one of the only, if not the only, Porsche 911 race cars with you could actually argue this is actually a mid-engined 911, because in the early days of the 911 RSR's life, in the guise you see it on screen just now, the engine was mounted right in the rear of the car, which is very typical, of course, for a 911. However, what they found was that this was actually hampering in the rules of the GTLM and GTE classes. Porsche noticed that this was hampering them with their performance, so in order to be competitive, they actually had to move the location of the gearbox. So before, the gearbox was mounted in front of the engine and the engine at the very rear of the car. What they did was, they basically swapped them around, so the gearbox went at the back of the engine, and the engine moved a little bit forward. Still very much a rear balanced mid-engine car. You could call it maybe a mid-rear engine car, this one, but the change certainly had the desired effect for Porsche, and the car has gone on to wonderful things. The 911 RSR that we have on screen is, I would say, one of my favourite sounding race cars ever. It's a flat six boxer engine, 6 cylinders, and crucially normally aspirated. And of course, it's so rare to see normally aspirated race cars nowadays. And in fact, the new for the 2020 season 911 RSR is actually now a twin turbocharged unit, which is a very different sounding machine indeed. In fact, it was actually debuted in the World Endurance Championship at Silverstone, and it's a very, very different sounding car. However, the results have been very similar. It's been absolutely dominant in the World Endurance Championship, and also finished on its 24-hour debut, finished second and third in class at the Rolex 24 at Daytona, hassling the factory BMW all the way to the flag. So we've got a few new faces to the Porsche Club of Great Britain sim racing paddock this week. We've got there Matthew Goodyear Scott in the number 7, new to the race. Toby Barlow as well in the number 48 as well, and plenty familiar faces as well. We're seeing the number 48, Toby Barlow, out on track at the moment, circulating, getting some practice in. We haven't seen Toby in the scheduled practice through the week, so a few of the drivers have had a couple of evenings this week practicing, getting to know the Watkins Glen circuit, but Toby's not been able to join them. So this is Toby getting his first laps of Watkins Glen in the 911 RSR, but just only 1.2 seconds off the ultimate pace of Matt Kyle Henny, who's already down. He's on a mission this morning. He's down to a 1 minute 41.8. somebody off there on the right. I think that's Carl Sharkey in the black and red Strasse Porsche. We're now starting to see quite a few more cars come out onto track now. Everyone finally getting out of bed and getting going here at Watkins Glen. So we know who's we've seen Toby Barlow is the first man on track today, and he's been turning laps since the green light went on at the end of pit lane. So he's clearly desperate to catch up for lost time on the practice this week. Now, one driver we haven't seen come onto track so far is Austin Greatorex. Austin Greatorex, our race winner in the Cayman GT4 race at Lime Rock Park, and coming second last weekend at Spa. Now, Austin Greatorex is reportedly making a livery change. Now, we know Austin drives in the very famous flying zebra coloured car, but today he's actually made a shock change. We're expecting him to come out in the Dempsey Proton diamond patterned livery on his 911 RSR. Of course, Grey's Anatomy actor Patrick Dempsey went to Le Mans and actually finished on the podium with fellow American Patrick Long back in 2015. So, very cool car colour scheme that they have on that car. Kind of white and black diamond colour paint scheme. So once we see Austin come out on track, expect him to be in that car. We see Matt Kyle Henney in the number 1. He is running, well, one of the most iconic Porsche paint schemes of them all, the Gulfa Oils Porsche. Very, very cool paint scheme, the kind of duck egg blue and orange scheme. Carl Sharkey there on track. He's in the red and black Strasse Porsche. Now look at this on track. We see Carl Sharkey. He is now, look at this, is interesting. Carl Sharkey hooking in behind Toby Barlow here. Watch out for Toby Barlow. He's coming here. He's never seen the track before, never driven the 911 RSR in iRacing, and he is out turning laps. And look at Carl Sharkey in the red and black car there on screen, just hooking in behind Toby Barlow, perhaps watching a few lines, to getting a few tips there from his fellow driver, or perhaps just wanting to maybe a couple of mind games there, perhaps. Looks like they're actually descending into a little bit of a race here. Of course, on iRacing, it's far too tempting in practice, if you come up behind somebody on track, to have a little bit of a race with them. And who could blame our drivers? It's too hard to resist that. So we're watching on screen with Toby Barlow and Carl Sharkey. Another new driver coming up there, Mark Baxter Jones. He will be running in the number 10 turquoise coloured car. As you can see, look at that, Matt Kyle Henney down to a 1 minute 41.3. Really fast pace, but the newcomer Matthew Goodyear Scott in the number 7, just 0.4 of a second behind, with Paul Riga in the number 9, only 0.9 of a second behind. So today we could see a really tight battle here in this Porsche 911 RSR race. Now, the 911 RSR is an incredibly sophisticated race car. Incredible amount of adjustment, so our drivers have been given a base setup to work from. They can adjust it if they wish, but in order to help those who are new to iRacing or new to racing in general, that setup should give the car a good baseline setup, so that it's good to go straight out of the box and the drivers don't have to spend too much time fiddling around with it. They can fine tune if they wish, but that base setup should be pretty quick indeed. The car does not have ABS, as is mandated in the GTLM and GCE rulebook. However, the car does have very sophisticated adjustable traction control, so our drivers can actually adjust how much traction control support they would like. So early in the race, perhaps when they've got fresh tyres, they may want to turn the traction control down a little bit to stop it hampering acceleration and things like that. However, when the tyres start to go off, or even perhaps when they're on a full tank of fuel, they may be able to adjust the assistance of the traction control up. Being a purebred race car, this Porsche, you can adjust so many different things on them. Every single gear is adjustable, so you can change the gear ratios, you can change pitch, you can change the downforce, you can change all different kinds of things to get this car to your individual liking. You can see we've now got 11 cars out on track. There's lots of people wanting to come out and get a bit of a practice in this morning. Well, I think we're going to be in for a very exciting race when we get going at 11:20 a.m. So your schedule for today, we currently have 1 hour and 10 minutes of practice time, and then at 11 o'clock GMT we'll have 20 minutes of open qualifying. And interestingly, I have in my notes here, expect a 1 minute 41 to set pole position. Well, I think that has gone out the window this morning, because Matt Kilhenny already up to a 1 minute 41.2. So he could be going down into perhaps the 140s or even the 139s, which would be really cool to see that. Now, a quick thank you must go out to our supporters of the Porsche Club of Great Britain. The Porsche Club of Great Britain have a very active motorsport community out in the real world, which of course, unfortunately, has had to be paused, of course, during the current coronavirus outbreak. However, we would like to give a big thank to our supporters of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Motorsport during the broadcast. So, first one goes out to Pirelli. So Pirelli have been a great supporter of the Porsche Club of Great Britain for many, many years. Now, for those of you listening, Porsche owners or not, if you've had your pride and joy locked up in the garage during this lockdown period, and you're finally able to get it out, do check your tyre pressures, check for punctures, etc., and make sure that they're all ready to go. And when your tyres have finally expired and are ready to be changed, get down to your local Pirelli Performance Centre. Also, another thing to check when you're ready to get your car out back and going again is your oil. Always good before you take the car out for a good spirited drive after a few months away. Always good to check the oil levels of the car, or perhaps even take the car for a full service. If doing that, choose Petrol Canada. Petrol Canada have been a great supporter of the Porsche Club of Great Britain for many years as well, and they supply performance motor oils and lubricants for your Porsche. Now, for any enthusiast or any lover of fast cars like myself, we all dread that day when our insurance renewal comes up. Of course, you know, the joy of driving a fast car, there's nothing to separate it, there's nothing to replicate it. However, insuring such a car can sometimes be an expensive endeavour, and you want to make sure you've got the right cover for your pride and joy. So get in touch with Locked In Insurance, the official partner of the Porsche Club of Great Britain. Locked In Insurance are the world's largest privately owned insurance broker and give them a call. They'd be delighted to look after you and hopefully give you a competitive quote for your Porsche. So it's still Matt Kilhenny at the top with a 1 minute 41.273 with Matthew Goodyear Scott, the number 7, just 4 tenths of a second behind. Another newcomer today will be Leon Price in the number 6, joining us today for the very first time. Brilliant to see more and more members of the Porsche Club of Great Britain come out to join us here at Watkins Glen and take part in our sim racing championship. You see on screen there Danny Jones, number 11, a driver who's been with us since the very beginning of the Porsche Club of Great Britain sim racing. He will be running in that iconic car on screen there, the white, blue and red Rothmans livery. Of course, the Rothmans brand absolutely synonymous with Porsche in the past. Of course, nowadays, cigarette advertising not allowed, but the paint schemes and the colour schemes still live on to this day. So we see Danny Jones there, number 11 in the Rothmans Porsche. Very, very cool indeed. Also Carl Hazelton, the number 4, running in the white, black and red factory paint scheme, which we saw win the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship last year. So Danny Jones, number 11 there. Number 13, Austin Greatorex, is now onto the track, just waiting for his paint scheme to come up. Now, has he given us a surprise there? Number 13, that does not look like the Dempsey Proton paint scheme or the Flying Zebra. Well, Austin Greatorex has thrown a surprise for me here in the commentary box with a new livery. Very cool, black with bits of gold on it. Oh dear, looks that is very cool indeed, Austin. I'm liking that a lot. A shame to not see the Flying Zebra out on track though, I will be honest. So, on your screen then, look at this. Matt Kilhenny in number 1. And there's Mark Searle, number 2, with Toby Barlow not too far behind there, just out turning a few laps. But today we're running, in fact, a much more classic layout at Watkins Glen. What this layout is referred to as the classic boot layout. So the Watkins Glen circuit has a very different, it has a couple of different configurations that you can run in. So today we will not be taking in the bus stop chicane, which was introduced in 1975 to slow the ever increasing speeds of Formula 1 cars at the time. So after the S's section and heading up to the outer loop, the fast right-hander, as you'll see our drivers now coming through the S's section and then up onto the straight, they will not take the right-left chicane, the bus stop, and they will just go straight on through. We're also making use of a section which is called the boot, which goes through the chute corner, the toe, the boot straight and the heel. So some very interesting corner names which we're heading now. So you'll see here, this is us heading into the boot section, which was added in 1971 to when the track was really becoming a staple part of the Formula 1 calendar. Of course, in 1973, in the final round of the Formula 1 World Championship, with Jackie Stewart due to race his 100th Grand Prix, but sadly he never took to the grid for that 100th Grand Prix. He only ever had 99. Unfortunately, his great friend and teammate Francois Sever was tragically killed in qualifying before the race, and Sir Jackie Stewart decided not to take to the grid. His Tyrrell team withdrew in respect for Francois. Of course, nowadays the Watkins Glen circuit has a lot of modern safety improvements, but still very much old school in its approach. Now we're going to get a closer look on screen here of Austin Greatorex's paint scheme. It is a JPS paint scheme, very, very cool. So the traditional black and gold pinstriping of JPS. So Austin Greatorex has thrown me a curveball there, but I really like that paint scheme. That's very, very cool indeed. Now, I don't know if I've ever seen a Porsche in the real world with a JPS black and gold livery. Please do get in touch with us via Facebook, the Peter Mackay Motorsport Podcast, or via Instagram at Peter Mackay Motorsport, or comment on Twitch. Do let me know if a Porsche has ever ran with a JPS paint scheme. I'm very curious to know. So Austin Greatorex straight on the pace, and that JPS livery's got to be worth 0.2 of a second, I would imagine. So Austin Greatorex in the number 13, our winner at Lime Rock Park, second to Matt Kilhenny last weekend at Spa. He's already just 0.7 of a second off the pace of Matt Kyle Henny, and he's not long out onto track. Of course, one thing we don't know is how much fuel our drivers are running in practice, and are some of the drivers sandbagging perhaps? Maybe they can. Of course, we're running for 30 minutes, which is quite significantly. You won't require a full tank of fuel in one of these 911 RSRs. They should be able to go for about 50 to 55 minutes on a full tank of fuel. So that will not be required. So the cars will be filled up with fuel just enough to get through the 30-minute race. Last week we had a few drivers using, last week in our 911 GT3 Cup race at Spa, there was a fixed setup provided, and that fixed setup was apparently very, very close on fuel, and what we couldn't see in the commentary box was how much the drivers were having to save fuel to be able to get to the end. And actually our eventual winner, Matt Kilhenny, very, very nearly ran out of fuel on the last lap, which would have been incredibly dramatic. So hopefully that we won't see that this time, and we'll be able to see the drivers go full rich, as they say, out on track. Now, look at this car on screen. We're looking at the lime green and yellow Manti colour scheme Porsche. I'm just trying to get an eye on the number of that car to see who is in that car. Now, good news here in the commentary box. My lovely assistant has brought me quesadillas, so that'll keep me going as I'm commentating here on free practice of the Porsche Club of Great Britain, 30 minutes of the Glen. So just coming up to about 10:30 now, so about 40 minutes into this session, so about half an hour left, so plenty time for our drivers to get some practice in. Now I must apologise, folks, I'm trying to get the number of that Manti Porsche, but it's eluding me at the moment, trying to find out who is in that Manti Porsche. We'll have to maybe use process of elimination to find out who is in that car. You see Mark Phillips on screen in the number 3 car, taking to the grid. Now Mark normally runs in a very distinctive dark green diamond patterned livery, but he tells me he has a new livery for today, so perhaps going to throw me a surprise like Austin did with his black and gold JPS livery. Another newcomer there on the screen, Angus Archer, the number 14, joining us for the first time here in the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. So this is interesting. Look here on track. Carl Sharkey and Austin Greatorex are two protagonists who fought for victory at Lime Rock Park a couple of weeks ago. Look at Austin Greatorex just shadowing Carl Sharkey. Now Carl Sharkey about 1.5 seconds off the pace of leader Matt Kyle Henney, with Greatorex only 0.7 of a second. However, if Greatorex can just time this perfectly, he may be able to get a good toe here coming down the back straight towards the outer loop. So look at that, Austin Greatorex right in the slipstream of Carl Sharkey there. So will that give him just a little bit of an edge to put a time in, to perhaps put a little bit of fear into last week's winner, Matt Kyle Henney. We'll be right back after this brief break. Welcome back, folks, to Watkins Glen. Let's have a little update on how our drivers are getting on in this free practice session with 48 minutes down of 1 hour and 10 minutes of free practice. At the top, no change. In first place, Matt Kilhenny, last week's winner, is running the number 1 plate today in the iconic blue and orange Gulf Racing colours with a very impressive 1 minute 41.273 seconds. And second is Matthew Goodyear Scott, a newcomer this weekend, number 7, just 4/10 of a second behind. In third is Austin Greatorex running the number 13, our winner from Lime Rock Park. He's just 7/10 of a second off Kyle Henny's pace. Matthew Goodyear Scott, the newcomer, will be running the beautiful blue and grey Dempsey Proton colour scheme. Of course, that team co-owned by Grey's Anatomy actor Patrick Dempsey, who had a couple of goes at racing at Le Mans a couple of years ago. And that's such a cool thing about sports car racing, is that these cars you see on track here in the real world, 911 RSR, these would be the cars that would take to the grid in both the fully professional class but also the Pro-Am classes. So at the Le Mans 24 Hours you have something called GTE Pro, which is all professional drivers, and you have something called GTE Am, and the GTE Am class is a professional and amateur driver mixture. So usually the amateur driver will be the person funding the effort and very much the ultimate indulgence for any petrol head. So it's actually a really important part of the business model of sports car racing, of wealthy amateur drivers going to compete at the very highest level. And that's what makes sports car racing so interesting. You know, you can't go to the Super Bowl and throw a touchdown pass. You know, you can't, you know, score a goal in the FA Cup final, but you can go to Le Mans in your, why not, in a Porsche 911 RSR and challenge to win your class and stand on the podium in front of 200,000 people. Now, what a greater pleasure than that. And I can't imagine what it's like for an amateur driver, you know, who has a successful business or what have you, driving in the middle of the night, heading down the Mulsanne Straight, you know, and an LMP1 car goes flying past you at the speed of sound. That must be one incredible feeling. Now, interestingly, what we're seeing today in practice is we're seeing that the times are quite a bit closer than we saw last week at Spa. Of course, the lap is slightly shorter in time. It's about half a minute shorter than we saw last week with the GT3 Cup cars at Spa, so that will have an effect. But what we find is with the 911 RSR is it's a slightly easier car to get up to speed. It's still relatively twitchy. It's still a purebred race car, but probably a little bit easier to master than the very fickle and very complex 911 GT3 Cup car. So perhaps today here at Watkins Glen we will see a little bit closer action than we saw last week at Spa, where Matt Kilhenny put on an absolute masterclass, heading out into the distance, leading Austin Greatorex home by nearly 15 seconds in a 30-minute race. A very impressive indeed. So we've got about 20 minutes left of this practice session. Just less than 20 minutes, and then we will go into 20 minutes of open qualifying and then ready for our 30-minute race. Now, a couple of dates for your diary, race fans, is the 9th of May, next Saturday at 9 AM will be the 12 Hours of Snetterton, a charity race organised by Toby Barlow. You'll see him there, the number 48, sitting in 8th place at the moment. Toby has very kindly arranged a 12-hour race here on iRacing.com at his local circuit, Snetterton, but of course in virtual form. And our drivers will all drive solo for 12 hours straight over the Snetterton circuit, and commentary will be from my good self for the whole 12 hours as well. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to raise money for wonderful NHS key workers who have no problem at all putting together a 12-hour shift on a daily basis. So the least we can do is sit on our backside and play iRacing all day. So do tune in. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have an audio feed on the Peter Mackay Motorsport podcast on the Podbean app, which you can download for free for iPhone or Android. And we're hoping that we'll be able to phone into the cockpit of our drivers, have a chat with them, see how they're getting on, tell them, give them some advice, and what have you. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be streaming on Facebook Live as well, so that you can comment and ask questions as the race goes on. And from my point of view, from the commentary box, I would be delighted for you to get in touch, because it will give me lots of things to talk about during those 12 hours of racing. So interestingly, Matt Kilhenny not being able to improve on that blistering 1 minute 41.2 second time, so he just had a little bit of a wall there with his pace. So will we see anyone drop below the magic 1 minute 41 in this race when we come into qualifying? So as I mentioned, we won't know how much fuel each of our drivers are running here in practice. So some of them may may concentrate on their race pace during this practice session, run with a full tank of fuel, and perhaps hide their pace slightly, because of course the more fuel that you carry in the car, the slower it will be. Of course, weight equals slow. So when we come into qualifying, the cars will be run with the absolute bare minimum of fuel. What you'll find is in qualifying, the drivers can go out, in and out of the pits as much as they wish in those 20 minutes. But if you run the car with a very, very low fuel load, as low as possible, the car will of course be quicker. These 911 RSRs use about 0.7 of a gallon, so about 3/4 of a gallon per lap. So trying to get that absolutely spot on. So basically that the car is basically coughing coughing to a stop as it goes over the line in qualifying to get the absolute maximum out of the car. Now we're seeing, look at that, we're seeing Austin Greatrex. He's improved his time slightly, just 0.551 seconds behind now, so he's bettered his pace by about 0.2 of a second. Paul Riga there as well, he's within a second of Matt Kilhenny's pace, so this could be a really, really interesting battle when we head into the race. Of course, today we're going to be running a rolling start for the first time, and that has a completely different complexion to the race. All of our races so far with the Porsche Club of Great Britain have been standing start races from the grid. Now, what I've found in my experience on iRacing is that the rolling start races tend to be a little bit more chaotic, with different drivers getting a good launch, getting a bad launch, and heading down into turn 1. It's very, very tight here at Watkins Glen. The corner is called the 90 because it virtually is a 90-degree corner. You can take a lot of curb on the inside, and there's a lot of room for running wide out onto the exit of the corner as well, out of that right-hander. So expect a little bit of fireworks going into turn 1. Of course, so just a 30-minute race. If there is any incident at turn 1, taking damage or what have you, that could be absolutely critical to the race. So, as is the case on many races on iRacing.com, it's very, very important to just stay out of trouble in those early laps, because it's so often the case that there is incidents and collisions at the beginning of the races. Even for pro drivers, I was on Thursday evening watching the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship virtual series at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and that was there was quite a bit of chaos in the early stages as well. So and that's with professional drivers. That's 50 professional drivers. So you can imagine what it's like for amateur drivers. So quite a few of our drivers in pit lane now, just taking a little rest before qualifying. We've been practicing for nearly an hour now, so this should probably give us a fairly good idea of what to expect in today's race. There's now 7 drivers within 1.5 seconds on outright lap speed. Now, it'll be interesting to see, Watkins Glen has a lot of long straights. It's a very fast circuit, so watch out for the drafting, watch out for the slipstreaming with our drivers here. Good opportunity for the drivers who are just a little bit behind on pace, can get in behind the driver in front, and sort of hang on to them if you like. So if you can sit behind a car, basically the car in front will punch a hole in the air for you to reduce the air resistance on the car, and therefore allow you to increase your speed a little bit. So watch out for the drafting at the front of the field. Oh, there goes Mark Searle into the wall there at the shoot corner. That's what he'll be saying in his cockpit there, shoot. Going through the toe corner now is Mark Phillips in that wonderful psychedelic colour scheme. We finally managed to find out who is in that Manti Grello 911 RSR. It's a newcomer to the championship, Angus Archer in the number 14, currently sitting in 10th place, 2.3 seconds off the lead as we currently see it. Of course, the Manti racing team, a huge part of Porsche's motorsport activity. Manti Racing, they run Porsche's effort in the World Endurance Championship with the 911 RSR, and of course run GT3 specification cars in all of the big global GT3 races, like the Spa 24 Hours and the Nürburgring 24 Hours. Now, if you're a Porsche fan or a racing fan, and if you're tuning into this broadcast, I would wager that you might be. After the race is finished, have a little look on YouTube and type in Porsche Endurance Documentary, because Porsche produced a wonderful documentary covering last year's both Le Mans 24 Hours and Nürburgring 24 Hours, which actually ran on consecutive weekends. So you can imagine the mental and physical challenge for the drivers, for the mechanics, and also the logistical challenge to get the whole Porsche Motorsport circus to go from Le Mans, the biggest race of the year, to pretty much the next biggest race of the year, Nürburgring, the very next week. So that documentary follows a number of the Porsche factory drivers and the Manthey Racing team as they take on that challenge, and it's well worth a watch. My favourite moment in that particular documentary is during the Nürburgring, early stages of the Nürburgring 24 Hour, where Manthey Racing driver Kevin Estre in the 911 GT3 was racing wheel to wheel in the Nürburgring 24 Hour, and in the very fast straight at the very nearly at the end of the Nordschleife section, he actually passes on the grass at the very much flat out in top gear, and gets the car fully on the grass and passes his adversary. I cannot remember who it was he was racing against, but check it out, it's very cool indeed. So no change so far then at the top. Still Matt Kyle Henny, who's sitting in pit lane at the moment. He's very happy, must be, with his 1 minute 41.273, but will we see that 1 minute 41 barrier broken? Just about 7 minutes left of practice, and then we will head into qualifying here at Watkins Glen. Now, another date for your diary is the 16th and the 23rd of May at 9 PM GMT. We will be reviving the concept of the transatlantic match races. So many years ago, the British and American motorcycle racers had a kind of Ryder Cup style transatlantic match race where the American riders would come over and race against the British riders, and that was where we really saw we saw the arrival of world champion Freddie Spencer, who came over and just shocked the world in those transatlantic match races. So we're going to replicate that with the Porsche Club of Great Britain sim racing paddock are going to take on the Porsche Club of America sim racing community. Now that will be live on Podium Esports on the 16th of May and the 23rd of May at 9 PM GMT. So the first round will be here at Watkins Glen, and the second round will be at Silverstone. So we have an American track and we have a British track. So please do tune in to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. So the cars that will be used for that competition will be these cars you see on screen right now, the Porsche 911 RSR. And the Porsche Club of America have a very much a thriving sim racing community with many different divisions. Of course, Porsche Club of Great Britain is a new initiative this year, getting folks out there and onto iRacing.com and getting involved with sim racing. So do tune in, it's going to be a lot of fun. 5 minutes left then of this practice session. Let's see if we're going to see any moves. Carl Sharkey there just put in his quickest lap of the practice session. The number 8 there on screen as you see now in the red and black Strasser Porsche. Just 1.2 seconds off the pace of Matt Kyle Henny. So will we see any surprises in qualifying. Of course, Watkins Glen is such a fast circuit. You know, it really demands big commitment, particularly into turn 1 here. We see Paul Riga in the white and blue car coming down into turn 1. That's you brake from about the 200 meter board there, back 2 gears, and then just fling it into the corner and get on the power as early as you can. The exit is so important because you are flat out from the first corner 90 all the way up through the S's and all the way here until what we call the outer loop, we'll get to in a moment. Angus Archer on track in the Manti Racing Porsche 911 RSR. The sort of green and yellow colour scheme there. It's known as Grello in the Nürburgring 24 hours. Closely followed behind Angus there is Toby Barlow in the number 48, going out for a little bit of just one more practice run. Maybe will we see Toby using a little bit of a low fuel run here, maybe having a quick warm up before qualifying. Let's see. It's going to be very exciting to see how our drivers get on in qualifying. Of course, Watkins Glen is one of the very few road courses used in the NASCAR Cup Series. So NASCAR, of course, the premier racing category in the United States of America, but more or less exclusively run on ovals. But throughout the years, a couple of road circuit races added into the calendar, and one of them is here at Watkins Glen. So you can imagine trying to hustle one of those big NASCAR machines around the contours of this Watkins Glen International Raceway. It must be an extraordinary experience to do that. I can assure you they will not be as agile as these lovely 911 RSR GT-LM cars. Of course, for those of you who want to get involved here at the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship, you can. The 12 Hours of Snetterton next week, 9th of May, from 9am to 9pm. We still have spaces left on the grid. Come and get involved, set up a Just Giving page, and get your friends to donate. But it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be not too serious. We're going to be racing in the Porsche Cayman GT4 MR Club Sports, which are a nice friendly little car and actually perfectly suited to the Snetterton circuit layout. They've got ABS, they've got traction control, so if you're new to iRacing but want to get involved with some fun racing, come and join us. We'd love to have your company. So 14 cars it looks like we're going to have today, unless there's anyone who's decided to stay in bed and skip practice. We'll need to wait and see, but so far we have 14 cars who have set a lap time in this practice session, and we'll see if any others come to join us. So quick run through before we finish. Matt Kilhenny in first place, running the number 1 plate on his Gulf RSR Porsche, the 1 minute and 41.273. Not too far behind him, a series newcomer, Matthew Goodyer-Scott in the number 7, just 0.4 of a second behind, so watch out for the number 7 car as we get going in this race today. In third place, series regular Austin Greatorex, number 13, running a brand new beautiful black and gold JPS livery today on his 911 RSR. He's only 0.5 of a second, so the top 3 covered by just 0.5 of a second. Not far behind them in this beautiful white and blue colour scheme is Paul Riga. Now, Paul last weekend in the 911 GT3 Cup race actually ran a police car livery. Very clever tactic, because let's be honest, nobody ever wants to see a police car appearing large in their mirrors, particularly if you're at the wheel of a high performance car like a Porsche. So today he's got still a white and blue paint scheme, but no police branding, which is going to make it a little bit more relaxing for our drivers. So that's practice finished then, folks. We'll just wait for our drivers to come round for qualifying. So we'll be right back with you. Our drivers will get ready for qualifying. Be right back with you in just a moment. Okay, so we see our drivers now out for qualifying. Now this is slightly unusual for iRacing. Normally in iRacing, you as a driver, you've got the whole track to yourself, where every driver basically gets their own opportunity to put in their qualifying laps on a free track. However, today we have an open qualifying session, so it's 20 minutes. You can use as much or as little of that time as you wish, but there are other cars on track. So, with, we saw in practice, in some cases up to 6 or 7 seconds a lap between the front and the back of the field. So, if we see some of our faster drivers out on track setting a lap time, this could be fascinating as well. Also, there is the opportunity, if you're really, really clever, to be able to use the car in front to just get that little bit of a tow. Sometimes just having that little bit of a reference of a car that's just that little bit faster than you can really drag you up. You see that a lot in the world of motorcycle racing, particularly in the Moto3 World Championship, where the slipstreaming tactics are absolutely vital to a good grid possession. So, we're looking at series newcomer Matthew Goodyear-Scott in the number 7 Dempsey Proton car in that lovely grey and blue livery. So he heads over the line to set his first flying lap of the race. So let's follow him. So he heads down through 90, getting a good exit using all the room on the curb. A little bit of oversteer there. So we head through the S's flat out here, just about hitting top gear as you come out the exit of the S's here onto the back straight, down towards the outer loop. So right into top gear here, you'll be stretching every last rev from this 500 horsepower purebred race engine. Down we go then into the outer loop, back 1, possibly 2 gears, trying to stop the car running wide, running a little bit wide there, but gets on the power, heading down towards toe corner, back 2 gears here, just trying to sweep through and get a good exit on the power hard, using that typical Porsche traction, down towards toe corner, back 2 gears again, turning in, using that camber there. You see that little camber, right onto the exit. He's really pushing here, out back onto the boot straight, heading down towards heel corner, warming up the tyres, down on the brakes, back 2 gears again to 3rd gear, tucking it in tight and getting a good exit up the hill to the last few corners. Then this is a really tricky left-hander here. There's a lot of different lines you can take around here, getting a good exit towards a very, very fast left-hander. It looks like Matthew Goodyear-Scott's perhaps backed out of this lap, weaving around. Let's see what lap time he sets here. Into the final corner, through he goes, right on the edge. He's pushing. Matthew Goodyear-Scott, number 7 then. So he sets a 1 minute, we'll see his time come up on screen now, 1 minute 43.2. We know he's got a much faster lap in him, so maybe we'll see it now. Heads through 90 then, using every last inch of the road then. Through the S's he goes, up towards the back straight. Now you'll see on the bottom of your screen here the times, our driver's time starting to appear. Leon Price setting a 1 minute 44.458, about 1.2 seconds off the pace of Goodyear-Scott. And whoa, Carl Sharkey, his first lap, 1 minute 43 flat, straight out the gate for Carl Sharkey. Matt Kilhenny, our leader in practice, bangs in a 142.3 in his first lap, so look, he's got pace, more pace in there as well. Mark Phillips with a 1 minute 43.566, so the lap times are coming in thick and fast now. Carl Hazelton in the number 4, 1 minute 47.988. Let's see. So Toby Barlow, the number 48, another newcomer to the series, but a real world racing driver. Toby Barlow, very regular competitor in the Porsche Club of Great Britain motorsport activity in the real world. So lots for Toby Barlow to exploit his real world skills behind the wheel of his sim rig here at Watkins Glen. So Watching the number 7 then, coming round towards the end of the lap for Matthew Goodyer-Scott. He's set a purple time, so he's set the best of anybody in the third sector. He's green in the second sector as well, and whoa, big oversteer there. That might have cost him the time, using plenty of room on the exit. Very neat and tidy in that last corner there. Matthew Goodyer-Scott comes to the line. Just a little mistake at in the second to last corner, but goes into second position right now with a 1 minute 42.690. I think we've got more to come there as well. Matt Kilhenny diving into the pits after just 5 minutes out on track, maybe making a little adjustment before going for it properly in qualifying. Of course, with quite a long lap here, 1 minute and 40 seconds or so, you got to get all the way around. So actually our drivers don't have too many opportunities at a quick lap here, with just 20 minutes to qualify their cars for the grid for the 30 minutes of the Glen with the Porsche Club of Great Britain. So it's the order the same then. Matt Kilhenny leading from Matthew Goodyer-Scott. Is that what we're going to see in the race? We shall see. Toby Barlow, the number 48, he's sitting just half a second off Matt Kilhenny's time, and we'll see Matt Kilhenny, as you'll see on screen there, heading out of the pits now, so we'll see him set another time soon. We're following the number 7 of Matthew Goodyer-Scott, heading round the final part of the lap now. Really pushing hard in that Dempsey Proton RSR. Heading into this second to last corner, really quick corner. It's a real breathe in and hope corner, using all the exit. That's much tidier now. Look at that, he's purple in the fourth sector. He's going quickly, using every last bit of the exit of the corner. He heads to the line for a 142.116. Goes on to provisional pole position. Matthew Goodyer-Scott in qualifying, so much quicker that time round as he heads through the S's for another flying lap. So Matt Kilhenny knocked off the pole position as it stands. However, we're still about 1 second off the ultimate pace from practice, so it'll be fascinating to see if we will see that come out here in qualifying. Does that perhaps indicate that Matt Kilhenny was perhaps running on low fuel in the practice session? Perhaps we shall find out in 13 minutes time. Through Matthew Goodyer-Scott goes then down into toe corner, back down to third gear, just tucking the nose in, using that camber on the corner and using every bit and more. He's on the grass, whoa, that was a close one. That was a close one there for Matthew Goodyer-Scott, using all the exit and more onto the grass. So that lap will be scrubbed. That will not count. If drivers go off circuit, their lap will be cancelled. So back round, cleaning his tyres, just slowing down a little bit. So perhaps Matthew Goodyer-Scott will go into pit lane, perhaps change tyres. Let's see. Will he come round again? Yes, he will. Off he goes then for another flying lap. So just 1 second covering the top 4 as it currently stands, and even just 1.3 seconds covering the top 7. So the field really bunched up here in qualifying. So Matt Kilhenny now out on track. He will be coming round for his next flying lap. So let's see if last week's winner and our fastest man in practice will pinch pole position or provisional pole position from Matthew Goodyer-Scott. So he's on track right now. We just see him coming over the line. Matt Kilhenny, a 143.8. So still winding that 911 RSR up for Matt Kilhenny. He'll go round again to try and set that quicker lap time. And mistake there. Mistake from Matthew Goodyer-Scott at chute corner. Just a little bit of oversteer. It's a very tricky corner, that chute corner. You're going from 5th gear back to 3rd gear and tipping the car in, and it's quite easy to lose the back end of the car. Watch for that chute corner in the race, because if you see a driver turning round, getting a little bit of a spin on, losing control of the car. It's a blind exit corner, so you can easily come round that corner and find absolute pandemonium blocking your way on the road and end up in an accident of no fault of your own. So very, very careful to look after that. And look at that, Austin Greatorex, our winner from Lime Rock Park, number 13, bangs in our first under 1 minute 42 lap with a 1 minute 41.811. Fascinating stuff here at Watkins Glen. Now, will Matthew Goodger-Scott or Matt Kilhenny have anything to say about that lap from the number 13 Austin Greatorex? Austin Greatorex might have left the Flying Zebra in the garage today, but this black and gold JPS livery is certainly bringing him some luck here, putting him onto provisional pole. Now, these 911 RSRs, you would not believe, these purebred race cars stripped out to be as light as possible with lots of magnesium components, aluminium, carbon fibre, you name it, exotic materials, they are on this 911 RSR car. However, with all that weight saving, you would not believe these cars actually have an air conditioning system. Of course, these cars mostly compete in endurance based events, 4 hours, 8 hours, even 24 hours, and racing in hotter temperatures, particularly like in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship in the United States, that air conditioning system will be very welcome indeed for the drivers. Of course, not such a problem here on iRacing.com, but in the real world, a very important piece of equipment indeed. So these cars, they boast about 510 brake horsepower, depending on the size of the restrictor. So in the world's GT racing categories, where the 911 RSR competes, it will compete against Corvettes, BMW M8s, Ford GTs, or used to compete against Ford GTs as well. And the balance of performance measures will be implemented to ensure that all these cars are as in equal a performance as possible. So sometimes cars may be given a little bit of a larger air restrictor to give them more power to keep up, or if they're too quick, they'll have their air restrictor reduced. There's many other forms of balance of performance, but that is one of them. So about 510 brake horsepower, which is interestingly pretty much the same as the 911 GT3 road car. So it gives you an idea just how much horsepower a 911 GT3 road car has nowadays. I have to be honest, one of my absolute dream cars, a manual gearbox Porsche 911 GT3. Yes, please. So 13 minutes down in qualifying, and there is just 0.4 of a second covering the top three. This is really, really close. Matt Kilhenny now down to third place, so off the front row of the grid, which is absolutely crucial in a rolling start race, particularly coming down into the very tight turn one at Watkins Glen. So fascinating stuff here. Can Matt Kilhenny extract another 0.4 of a second out of his Gulf RSR? Let's see. Matthew Goodger-Scott here on the number 7, trying to better his time and try to break the 1 minute 42 barrier. This is interesting. Here in qualifying, we're actually seeing the pace drop slightly in qualifying compared to free practice, which is usually the other way round, with cars running on slightly lower fuel in qualifying. So here comes Matthew Goodger-Scott over the line then, heading down into 90 corner, using lots of room on the exit there. There are quite a few different ways to approach that first corner. You know, you can carry more speed through the middle of the corner and run wide, or you can actually take a slightly slower exit and get the car pointed forward and get a real sort of slingshot exit. I've yet to find out which is the faster option. Perhaps we will see who deploys that corner, or who handles that corner the best throughout the race today. Just 30 minutes race today, so it will be fast and furious all the way through here at Watkins Glen. Absolutely no room for a mistake. A small mistake and your chances of victory will be over. So down we go then. through toe corner, up towards heel corner. The wonderful corner names here at the Watkins Glen International Raceway. Of course, situated in kind of Watkins Glen sort of National Park, beautiful part of the country, about 3 hours north of New York City. So in 1967, the Watkins Glen United States Grand Prix, on the 1st of October 1967, Jim Clark took his Lotus Ford to victory, followed home by his teammate Graham Hill, and third, Denny Hume in the Repco Brabham. So this has such illustrious history here at Watkins Glen. Fellow Scot of mine, Ryan Dale, he says that Watkins Glen is one of his absolute favourite circuits. Properly old school circuit, very, very narrow, very bumpy, but fast, really fast. I mean, this corner here, the S's, just hitting into top gear as you come out the exit of the S's there. So, are we going to see Kyle Henney climb onto pole position? He's put in a 1:42.1 there, his fastest lap of qualifying, but still just not quite enough. He's just 6,000ths of a second off the front row, agonising for the Gulf #1 car. Well, and look at Austin Greatorex, he's done 2 fastest sectors of all in the early part of the lap, but the third set, oh, big crash there coming out of the chute corner. That is the Manti car number 14 of Angus Archer. Well, fascinating stuff there. That will require a tow back to pit lane. That was a big old crash. Oh, and that's Matthew Goodger Scott off as well. He's gone back to pit lane as well. But look at Austin Greatorex, 1:41.5, fastest lap of the qualifying session so far, and extends his lead in pole position to 0.6 of a second. Now Matthew Goodger Scott is in pit lane, and he's not going to have enough time to get round and set another lap. So Matthew Goodger Scott, he is finished for this qualifying session. Can he hang on to that front row grid position? Has Kyle Henney got anything to say about it? It looks like Kyle Henney is going to get one more lap in. So we see him there coming over the start-finish line now, heading down over the start-finish line for his final lap of qualifying. So it's now or never for Kyle Henney. And look at that. Yes, there you go. 1:41.956. Goes on to the front row of the grid. Kyle Henney, our leader in practice, our winner last weekend at Spa. He goes on to the front row of the grid. 0.4 of a second behind Austin Greatorex, but he has just enough time to fit in one more lap. So let's see if Kyle Henney in the #1 Golf, let's see if he is going to fit another fast lap in and pinch pole from Austin Greatorex. We're seeing Austin Greatorex just coming round now. Is he going to better his time? Nope, he's in pit lane. So we're now all eyes are on Kyle Henney to see if he can pinch pole position. So you'll see his time there coming up on the bottom right of your screen. Kyle Henney. So he's not bettered his time in the first 2 sectors. So he's perhaps had his lap time go off there. So let's see if Kyle Henney can turn this around. During this lap, we see most of our drivers, they're finished. They're all in pit lane now. So who are we going to see Kyle Henney better his lap? He's heading round just to the final part of the 4th and penultimate sector of this lap. Can he get onto pole position and break Austin Greatorex's heart for that pole position and those bragging rights? Just 30 seconds of this qualifying session left remaining. I don't think he's going to do it, folks, because looking at the bottom left of the screen here, he has not bettered his time. So that is your grid then. Austin Greatorex, number 13, 1:41.513. Kyle Henney, number 1, will close out the front row of the grid, just pinching it at the final moment with 0.442 of a second behind Austin Greatorex. So there you go, checkered flag for qualifying. So, we're ready then. We've had our qualifying, we've had our practice. It's nearly time for the Porsche Club of Great Britain 30 minutes of the Glen in this beautiful Porsche 911 RSR. The race lengths will be 30 minutes and we have 27 degrees temperature, so nice and cosy here at the Watkins Glen International Raceway. Track length just 5.39 kilometres and the situated just on the east coast of the United States of America. So let's see how we line up for this race. So on pole position will be Austin Greatorex, number 13 in the John Player Special Car with a 1 minute 41.513. And second will be Matt Kyle Henney in the number 1 Gulf Porsche, just 0.4 of a second behind. In third will be Matthew Goodger Scott in the number 7, the Dempsey Proton coloured car, the grey and blue car. He is just 0.602 behind. In fourth place, rounding out the second row of the grid, will be Carl Sharkey, number 8, just 0.9 of a second off the ultimate pace of Austin Greatorex. Starting up on the third row of the grid will be Paul Riga in the number 9 white and blue car, just 1.1 seconds off the ultimate pace. Only 4 thousandths of a second behind him will be Toby Barlow in the number 48, another newcomer to this sim racing league here in the Porsche Club of Great Britain, with just 1.173 seconds behind Austin Greatorex's pace. In seventh, starting the fourth row of the grid, will be Mark Phillips in the number 3, the psychedelic black and multicoloured car, just 1.3 seconds off the ultimate pace. Joining him on the fourth row of the grid will be Leon Price, another newcomer in the black and orange car. He will be running the number 6. So we're ready to take to the grid. We're ready to take to the grid now. We're just waiting for our drivers to arrive. So you'll see there's our iRacing Porsche safety car. Waiting for our drivers to come round. So you'll see them taking the grid here. So we'll have one warm-up lap. So you'll see our drivers weaving the cars around, trying to get some heat into those tyres, into the brakes as well. That's one thing really important to watch. Remember, these 911 RSRs do not have anti-lock braking assistance. That's very, very important to notice. So very, very important to ensure that you've got some heat in those brakes before we get going. So we're nearly ready to go then. 14 cars ready to unleash 7,000 brake horsepower here at Watkins Glen International Raceway. On pole position then, Austin Greatorex, our winner at Lime Rock Park in the Cayman GT4. Second place to Matt Kyle Henney last weekend in the 911 GT3 Cup cars. And pole position today here at Watkins Glen. So we're waiting for our drivers to get going. The safety car is pulling away. And we are ready for half an hour of frantic action here at Watkins Glen International Raceway. Thank you very much for joining us here for the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing 30 minutes of the Glen. Thank you for your company, much appreciated. Before we begin, love to thank our sponsors, Pirelli, Petro Canada and Lockton Insurance, supporters of the Porsche Club of Great Britain. So we'll take a little lap round here of Watkins Glen. The driver's heading through the S's section, a very, very fast 5th gear entry, and just exiting just where the safety car going past now, clicking up into 6th gear and unleashing the full wrath of these wonderful Porsche 911 RSR Le Mans GT cars. 14 cars then ready to go in this race. As we head down the back straight, you'll see Paul Riga there warming up the tyres, also Toby Barlow as well. Really important to get those tyres nice and cosy. You keep getting a bit of temperature in the brakes. Getting temperature in the brakes is absolutely vital, because heading down into turn 1, a very tricky braking zone here at Watkins Glen, where you're braking downhill, you're turning in off camber, very, very easy to lock the brakes if they're not fully up to temperature, which of course they are not quite at their full operating temperature at the beginning of the first lap. So round we go then. This is now into the boot section that was added in 1971 as the track was rising to fame as one of the premier races on the Formula 1 calendar. In fact, at the time, the race at Watkins Glen offered more start and prize money than all the other Formula 1 races combined. So a big purse here at Watkins Glen International Raceway back then. So watching our drivers come around, ready for the 30 minutes of the Glen. What are we going to see here? I think we're going to see a proper battle between Austin Greatorex and Matt Kyle-Henny. Greatorex faster in qualifying, crucially getting that pole position, but Matt Kyle-Henny being faster in testing and being faster in practice. So this is just going to be a fascinating contest between our two leading drivers in the Porsche Club of Great Britain. Ready to go then, folks. You'll see on the top left of your screen it's saying 14 minutes and 20 seconds. That is wrong, but I will keep you right on when our race is coming to an end. So it'll be 30 minutes and a lap. So here we go then. The Porsche safety car heads us around. Austin Greatorex leaning right back, obviously want to get a good run into the start here. This is interesting. Look at Austin Greatorex really far behind the field here, but he's pacing the field now. Is he going to try and get a run? He has. Oh, that's cheeky. That is cheeky from Austin Greatorex. Through he goes then, and he is off. That is very, very cheeky from Austin Greatorex. And I look at that. Matthew Goodger-Scott has nicked a place off Matt Kyle-Henny as they head down into turn 1, into 90 bend. Braking from 200 metres, down 2 gears, heading down towards the S's now. Through they go. Looks like our drivers have got through nice and cleanly. Good discipline there, but watch here. Very, very tricky on cold tyre here, going through the S's, but very, very good discipline from our drivers. Through they go then, one after the other, opening up all 500 horsepower of these 4-litre flat 6 motors. Fantastic stuff. Heading down the back straight. Wonderful. Heading down towards the outer loop they go then. And it's Greatorex heading from Matt Kyle-Henny. So Matt Kyle-Henny has got past Goodger-Scott, heading in through the S's and along the straight. But he will be angry in that helmet, because Austin Greatorex got such a launch there from the rolling starts. Look at this, heading down into toe. Greatorex has to go defensive, so will Matt Kyle-Henny get a little bit of the slingshot there? We've seen a brilliant three-way battle here. Matthew Goodger-Scott in the number 7. Riga's off! Paul Riga's off on the grass. Paul Riga, one of our leading drivers, number 9. He is in the grass, and that is his race done. Has he taken any damage? It looked like he hit the guardrail pretty hard there, so Paul Riga drops down the order and will not feature in the battle for this victory here in the Porsche Club of Great Britain. 30 minutes of the Glen. Well. What a start then. And look at that. Matt Kyle-Henny's got in front of Greatorex. So where has he made that pass? Greatorex now back to, he's 0.4 of a second back from Matt Kyle-Henny. But look at this. Greatorex side by side going into turn 1. Greatorex side by side up the inside then, going into the 90 bend they go then. So Greatorex gets ahead going into the S's with Matthew Goodger-Scott right behind. What a start to this race. Through the S's they go then. They're side by 3 of them. 1, 2, 3, as close as that. This is a brilliant start to this motor race. Oh, somebody's in the wall. Somebody is in the wall through the S's there. That could be absolute chaos further down the order there. Sorry, I cannot quite tell who that was. 3 wide then, into the outer loop they go. Greatorex takes the inside line. Can he hold it tight? Look at that, holds the inside line. going into toe corner. We're into the boot section now. So there goes Greater X, Matt Kilhenny. Matt Kilhenny goes round the outside. Look at this. The man in the Gulf Porsche. Wow. Look at that. Matt Kilhenny down the inside, then going into toe corner. Greater X has run wide. Greater X has run wide, and look at that. Can Matthew Goodyear-Scott get up the inside? No. So it's Matt Kilhenny, number 1 in the Gulf Porsche, has got up into the inside. So Greater X weaving to the right as they head down to heel. Very tricky corner here. Up they go then towards the final sector of the lap. Greater X, is he going to have a look here? No, thinks better of it. So look at Kenny spun! Matt Kilhenny is spun! He's in the car! Oh my goodness me! Oh, it's contact with Mark Phillips. Oh my goodness me, our favourite Matt Kilhenny is out, and he's pointing the wrong way, and that is compromised number 7 Matthew Goodyear-Scott. Austin Greater X's Christmases have all come at once here, and he's off at the lead, in the lead, with a 1.6 second advantage from Carl Sharkey. Would you believe it, folks? Wow, Matt Kilhenny has lost it going into the final sector of the lap. Wow, goodness me. So through the S's they go. Toby Barlow, our newcomer, number 48. Now, he hadn't driven the Porsche 911 RSR or this Watkins Glen circuit until this very morning. Was the first man out on track in practice, and he is up chasing down Carl Sharkey. Well, would you believe it, folks? Matt Kilhenny, he's in the pit lane. He's in the pit lane. He's taken damage. So Matt Kilhenny's day is over. Well, I did not expect that. So Matthew Goodyear-Scott, though, he's in 4th position. He's just 2.6 seconds back from Greater X, but Austin Greater X has really got to put the foot down now. He has got an opportunity to break away from the pack. He has the 3 men behind him. Look at this. Carl Sharkey in the red and black car, number 48 in the dark blue car, Toby Barlow, with Matthew Goodyear-Scott in the number 7 Dempsey Proton grey and blue car. They are all together right beside each other. They're only covered by 0.6 of a second between those 3 cars, so they could start fighting. They could start slowing each other down, which is just what Austin Greater X needs to clear off and win this race. And he has got up to a 2.3 second lead already. So Greater X dropping the hammer and escaping. He will have been looking in his mirrors with the Gulf Porsche of Matt Kilhenny turning around behind him, and he will have not been able to contain his excitement at the wheel of that black and gold JPS Porsche. So look at this. Matthew Goodyear-Scott goes up the inside of Toby Barlow, in down towards 90, then braking at 200 metres, down a couple of gears. Toby Barlow really good there into the 90, braking late, nice and neat and tidy, able to defend the attempt of an overtake from Matthew Goodyear-Scott. And in the meantime, Carl Sharkey just getting a little bit of breathing space. But definitely Toby Barlow in number 48 as they head onto the back straight now. Toby Barlow, the number 48, right in the slipstream of Carl Sharkey. But here goes Goodyear-Scott up the inside into the outer loop, the right-hander. And can he make it stick? He looks like he can. He holds the tight line. Toby Barlow has to drop in behind in the number 48. So Matthew Goodyear-Scott back up onto the podium then. Can he get past Carl Sharkey quickly and make a challenge to Austin Greater X? He will really need to push on now. He's got Toby Barlow right behind him, weaving around as they head down into toe corner, using that nice camber and getting that beautiful exit up the hill onto the start, up onto the back straight. Through they go then, so close then. Carl Sharkey in the number 8 black and red Strasser Porsche, very closely followed by Matthew Goodyear in the number 7 grey and blue car, and Toby Barlow right behind them in the dark blue number 48 car. Well, what a race we are seeing here with these wonderful 911 RSR machines. Lots of new protagonists up there at the front. But it's Austin Greater X who's now opening up a 2.3 second advantage, now gone up to 3.6 second advantage as well. Well. So here goes Matthew Goodyear-Scott. Can he get up the inside of Carl Sharkey heading into the 90 bend? He's going up the inside. Can he make it stick? He goes wide. Carl Sharkey goes back and cuts him back on the switchback. They head into the S's side by side, going through the S's. Oh my word, this can't fit. This can't fit. He's on the grass. He's on the grass. It's a huge accident. Huge accident. Oh, it's massive. Oh, it's absolutely massive. Number 7, Matthew Goodyear-Scott has taken out Carl Sharkey. Oh my word! Carl Sharkey in the number 8 is out of this race. That was never going to fit. Too wide, going through the S's, never ever fits. My word, the number 7 then, Matthew Goodyear-Scott, is out of this race after ending up on the grass. Well. And unfortunately, I think Mark Phillips was caught up in that accident. Again, no fault of his own. It's very typical here at Watkins Glen for that to happen. Or perhaps he's not. Possibly it wasn't Mark Phillips there who got caught up in that accident, but it's a part of the circuit where there's no room to avoid. If there's a car crashed in front of you, you've got nowhere to go. We saw that happen in the 6 hours of the Glen last year in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, where one of the Corvettes crashed heading at the start of the race, going through the S's. So it's a very easy mistake to make, and well, what a dramatic end to that battle there for the podium. So it's not been Mark Phillips then involved. He managed to escape that, and he's up onto the podium, just 8/10 of a second. 8 seconds behind Austin Greatorex. So Austin Greatorex, number 13, puts in another fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 42.6, and opens up a lead of 4.4 seconds from Toby Barlow. So any mistake at all from Greatorex and Barlow will be right there. And of course, Toby Barlow, a real world racer himself, he will be getting used to this car and this track all the time. Remember, he had not seen the car or the circuit before this morning. In fact, I tell a lie. I actually sent Toby a message on WhatsApp yesterday with a wonderful onboard footage of one of my favourite sports car drivers, Jordan Taylor, driving the Wayne Taylor Racing Corvette Daytona prototype a couple of years ago around this wonderful Watkins Glen circuit. But that is the only preparation that Toby would have had before today. So Greatorex opening up the gap though, 5.4 seconds the gap between Greatorex and Barlow, with Phillips another 4 seconds or so behind Barlow. Well, what a race so far. Quite extraordinary. Quite extraordinary indeed. So we've seen a couple of our real protagonists. I have to say, Matthew Goodyear-Scott in the number 7 looked really strong for a challenge for the victory, as did Matt Kilhenny, but an early mistake from Matt Kilhenny put him out of the running. So interestingly, we're now see only 6 cars out of our original 14 on the lead lap. So it's been very much a race of attrition. Watkins Glen, you know, it's if you make a mistake, there is always a guardrail there ready to find you. So look at this now. This is interesting. Number 48, Toby Barlow, has got caught behind. He's flashing his lights furiously. Oh my word. Number 7, Matthew Goodyear-Scott, is holding up Toby Barlow. That's poor discipline there. Very poor indeed. As they headed through the S's, coming out of pit lane, didn't yield for Barlow. Barlow, the number 48, will be absolutely furious about that as they head down into the outer loop. He's managed to get by, but Matthew Goodyear-Scott sits in behind him. Well, that was a little bit of poor discipline there. There would have been a blue flag fluttering in the top left of Goodyear-Scott's screen, but unfortunately not adhering to that blue flag immediately. So this is all falling into the lap of Austin Greatorex, who has driven a perfect, smooth, measured race. Now that's the thing, as I mentioned before in qualifying, it's so important to keep the mistakes to a very bare minimum, because just that one mistake, you just don't have the time to drive back and recover. As we can see, only 6 cars on the lead lap currently. So, and Paul Riga in 6th position, 1 minute and 14 seconds behind the leader right now. So, still in the lead then, Austin Greatorex, number 13, leading Toby Barlow by 5.8 seconds. In 3rd place, the number 3 of Mark Phillips is just 10.2 seconds behind the leader. And 4th is Jamie Woolward in the number 12, just 23 seconds behind Greatorex. the leader. Now Jamie Woolward is in the number 12 car, the black and orange machine. Another newcomer to the Porsche Club of Great Britain sim racing paddock. In 5th is Carl Hazelton, number 4, 36 seconds behind the leader. Carl Hazelton running the beautiful white, black and red factory colour paint scheme. So look at this on screen now. Toby Barlow, number 48. This is not what he wants, having a very angry, no doubt, Matthew Goodyear-Scott right behind him. Of course, remember, this isn't for position. Matthew Goodyear-Scott is a lap down. So with no potential full course yellow, the blue flag stipulations do apply. Sometimes in sports car racing, you see when you get a full course yellow and safety car period, the drivers who are a lap down do sometimes get the opportunity to do what's called a wave around and get their lap back and find their way to the back of the field. Of course, in a sprint race like this without safety car intervention, then if you are a lap down, so if you're a lap behind the person behind you, you will be shown the blue flag, which means move over for the cars on the lead lap. And must be honest, Matthew Goodyear-Scott did not adhere to that discipline, and that has really cost Toby Barlow, who's now 6.5 seconds back with not too long to go in this motor race. So down they go into 90 corner. Oh, that was very, very close. That's the Rothmans car, number 11 of Danny Jones, straddled across the track there. So easy to be collected there. That nearly, very, very nearly ended Toby Barlow's race. My word. But look at this. Look at Matthew Goodyear-Scott, determined to get his lap back. He's side by side with Toby Barlow. This is very, 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 very aggressive from Goodyear-Scott. Perhaps then Matthew Goodyear-Scott could perhaps return the favour to Toby Barlow here. Goodyear-Scott could perhaps tow Toby Barlow up to the leader Austin Greatorex, but that gap is up to 8.7 seconds now, so it's going to require a big mistake from Austin Greatorex to deny him his second win of 3 races in the Porsche Club of Great Britain sim racing community. Well, what a dramatic race it's been so far. You know, those who tuned in last week to our GT3 Cup race at Spa was very much a beautifully controlled drive from Matt Kilhenny out in front, leading Austin Greatorex home by 15 seconds, but a tad on the processional side. Today at Watkins Glen in these wonderful 911 RSR cars has been absolutely spectacular stuff, unbelievable stuff actually. And the opening few laps, well, nothing but drama. So for those just tuning in, Matt Kilhenny, our fastest man in testing, fastest man in practice, second position in qualifying, crashing on the opening lap, heading through the final sector of the course and putting himself out of the running. He's running 1 lap down at the moment in 11th place. Then we saw a rapid battle appear for the podium positions with Toby Barlow, Matthew Goodyear-Scott and Carl Sharkey battling it out for those podium positions. And with Carl Sharkey and Matthew Goodyear-Scott going side by side into the S's, that is where 2 into 1 does not go, and ended up in a monumental accident, and which took them out of the battle for the podium. So in the podium battle now is really between Toby Barlow, who about 4 seconds up the road from Mark Phillips. So you'll see Mark there just coming out of the chute corner with Toby Barlow down at toe corner. They're right into the boot straight now. Heading through we go then. Well, just have to catch my breath now. What a race this has been here at Watkins Glen. A brilliant prelude to the transatlantic match races, which will take place on the 16th and 23rd of May, where the Porsche Club of Great Britain will head off against the Porsche Club of America in a Ryder Cup style match race format. One race here at Watkins Glen International Raceway, and one race at the home of British motorsport, Silverstone. And the cars used for that race will be these wonderful 911 RSR machines. Now look at that, Matthew Goodyear-Scott with a 1 minute 42.983, his fastest lap of the race so far. Mark Phillips also putting in his fastest lap of the race so far, the 1:43.6. But that gap between Barlow and Phillips, Barlow in second, Phillips in third, just 4 seconds, sitting very, very stagnant and stable at the moment. But it's Greater X out front in the number 13 JPS black and gold machine, just 9.5 seconds ahead of Barlow. And it's crash for the Manti car. That's the Manti car of Angus Archer. He's goodness me, he's had a little bit of an accident there at the outer loop. So look at this then, Mark Phillips coming up behind one of the black and orange machines. I think that might be Leon Price. He's coming up behind. We'll need to get a closer look at that. So there's the Manti car of Angus Archer. After his little off at the outer loop, the number 14 car has got back going again, heading up behind Matt Kilhenny's Gulf Porsche, the number 1 machine. Now look at that up at the front. Austin Greatorex now stretching his advantage to over 10 seconds in this race. Tell you what, Austin Greatorex just got that timing right. He was able to escape when Matt Kilhenny spun towards the end of the first lap. That gave Austin Greatorex the opportunity to be able to escape at the front while the others battled away. But he's now driving a perfectly immaculate race, and in fact has stretched his advantage to 12.5 seconds. So really building up the pace now, with Barlow dropping in to the 1 minute 44. So Barlow and Phillips just almost identical pace to one another right now, but both, I think, going into cruise mode now, ready to cruise the car home to the finish. Not long left then in this race here at Watkins Glen. Less than 10 minutes to go. Must apologise for the top left of the screen there. We're not getting an accurate time of how much of the race is left, but we've got probably just under 5 minutes to go now, but we will see when the checkered flag comes out. Watching Mark Phillips in that wonderful psychedelic multicoloured livery, the number 3 machine there, beautiful paint scheme on his 911 RSR. Mark does like his alternative custom paint schemes on his 911 RSR. We see that I must say I am a massive sucker for a cool livery, and I do love a throwback livery as well. So seeing the Gulf racing Porsches and the Rothmans racing Porsches as well are very, very cool indeed. But on iRacing as well, you do see some really cool customised paint schemes as well, just like the one you see there on screen with Mark's number 3 machine. Greatorex then popping in a 1 minute 42.5, still knocking out very, very fast lap times. Toby Barlow there with a 1:44.1, so Greatorex really stretching his lead now, really in a proper groove in the number 13 car. Greatorex now 14.6 seconds ahead of Barlow. Now, what's happened to Phillips? What has happened to Phillips? Oh, it looked like he was heading into the pit lane there, but he hasn't. No, my apologies, just a glitch on the timing screen there. So Phillips still in third position, still maintaining that gap of about 4 seconds or so to Toby Barlow ahead in second. In fourth, Jamie Woolward, number 12, a newcomer to the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing League, and he is in fourth position, the number 12 car in one of the black and orange machines. Also Carl Hazelton in fifth position, the number 4 car. Carl is running the white, black and red factory paint scheme. Unfortunately, we're not seeing much of Carl on the broadcast today, but a very solid position on the lead lap, just under a minute behind the leader, Austin Greatorex. So, we're watching on screen, this is Danny Jones in the Rothmans car, heading behind one of the black and orange cars. I cannot see the number there through on the screen, but they're right beside each other. I don't know if they're battling for position here. I think it's Leon Price in the number 6. I think they are actually. Leon Price in the number 6 with Danny Jones right behind. So this is the battle for 8th place we're watching here in the closing stages of this race. Leon Price leading Danny Jones. Very, very close though as they heading down into 90 corner. Very, very tidy there from Leon Price. Remember, Leon's a newcomer to the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing paddock. Danny Jones, one of our founding members, if you like, from our first race at Limelock Park in the Cayman GT4 cars. Very close finish here there, but Danny Jones right in the slipstream though. Can he pull along the straight? Getting in the slipstream, dragging down towards the outer loop. About 3 or 4 car lengths separates them into the outer loop. A really, really tricky corner. Down 1, possibly 2 gears, down to 4th. Getting a good exit, using the curb on the exit. They head down to Shoot. Shoot is really important corner to get a good exit down the hill. Getting a good slingshot there, down towards Toll Corner. So we're in the boot section now. Round Toll Corner they go, using the camber. Danny Jones, is he getting a little bit closer? Perhaps. Leon Price driving very consistently indeed. Now back towards the front, Mark Phillips has closed the gap down to just 3.3 seconds now, so he's closed it down from 4 seconds to 3.3 seconds. So is Barlow slowing, and is Mark Phillips getting into a little bit of a groove? Greater X out front just putting in another mid 142 lap. That's been the key to his race today. He's just been able to consistently lap in the 1 minute and 42s. Once he got some clear air, he was able to do that. Over, and Danny Jones is off. Danny Jones is off in the number 11 Rothman's car. He is off, just coming out of the final corner, and that has let Leon Price off the hook in 8th position. Now running with Paul Riga in the number 9, who's right behind the number 12 of Jamie Woolward. So this is the battle for the top 5 here. Now remember, Riga was involved in a very, very big accident early on in the opening lap. The number 9, Paul Riga, one of our fastest drivers in the Porsche Club of Great Britain. And look at this, he's now putting big pressure on new boy Jamie Woolward as we head into the closing stages of this race. Very, very close indeed. Now, Paul Riga is renowned for being smooth, tidy, and a very fair driver in wheel-to-wheel combat. So let's see if that is consistent to today. So they head over the start-finish line, heading down towards turn 1 to the 90 corner. Right-hander down, braking at the 200-meter marker, down a couple of gears, turning into the right-hand side and back on the gas. Oh, and look at that. Jamie Woolward goes a little bit wide on the exit there. Riga a little bit tidier as they head up through the S's. Right, then left, then right again. Riga's getting a run on him. Riga's definitely getting a run on him, coming through the S's with that better exit all the way back at 90. And look at that as they draft down they go. Look at that. Woolward weaving around. Riga goes up the inside. Riga up the inside in the white and blue car. He's got the inside line. Can he take it into the outer loop, the right-hander? Oh, Woolward goes wide. Woolward goes wide and Riga goes through. Very, very smooth indeed. And that all came down to that exit out of turn 1 there at the 90 corner, turning right and getting that good exit with Woolward running wide. That gave Riga the advantage. So Paul Riga moves up into 5th position. A very, very good recovery drive from the number 9 man. Well, and just about 7 seconds up the road, you have Carl Hazelton. Now, look at this. Mark Phillips is now, but I think we have another glitch on our timing screen. No, Mark Phillips has gone up to 2nd position, so there's been a mistake from Toby Barlow. Now, Mark Phillips, who was 3.5 seconds behind Barlow, he's now over 4 seconds ahead. So Barlow has obviously had a problem, a spin or something like that along the way, and has lost 3rd place, and Mark Phillips has moved up to 2nd position. What can you say though? But Austin Greatrex, number 13, 22.5 seconds ahead of the pack. Absolutely extraordinary, with both of his main rivals, Matthew Goodger Scott and Matt Kyle Henney, taken out of the race in the relatively early stages has given him the opportunity to clear off in the distance. Well, what can you say? Jamie Woolward now going into pit lane. Interesting. So problems for the number 12 car, the black and orange car. He's gone through pit lane and he's now heading out of the pit right now. So after his battle with Paul Riga, obviously a problem for the number 12 of Jamie Woolward. So Matthew Goodyear-Scott in the 7 car, involved in that huge crash earlier on in the race, just putting in a 143.8. Maybe that car not quite running at 100% after that incident in the early stages. So Mark Phillips then 9/10 of a second faster than Barlow in third, going through that lap. So your podium so far, your provisional podium, Austin Greatorex in the lead, followed by Mark Phillips, number 3 in second, and Toby Barlow in third, number 48. Very close to the end of the race now, waiting for our white flag. I think we are not far away from finished now. iRacing showing the 30 minutes has now elapsed. So we're waiting for our winner, our leader, Austin Greatorex, to come round and take the checkered flag here at Watkins Glen. What a race it's been. Really, really exciting. 911 RSRs racing wheel to wheel around one of the North America's finest racetracks, one of its fastest racetracks as well, where all 500 horsepower of these flat 6 machines can be unleashed to their maximum ability. So Greatorex putting in a 1 minute 42.649. So just waiting for the white flag to come out for our leader. Great recovery drive there from Paul Riga, and look at this, Paul Riga's not finished yet. Paul Riga is hunting down Carl Hazelton. So Carl Hazelton in the white, red and black factory coloured paint scheme in the number 4. He's got Paul Riga for company now, and Paul Riga has pulled huge time out of Carl Hazelton here. So can Paul Riga recover to nab a 4th position after a crash on lap 1? This would be a miraculous drive of the day. Has to almost rival Austin Greatorex for drive of the day. Riga goes, oh, looks to the inside, thinks better of it. Back in the slipstream again as they head down towards the final part of the lap now. This is really, really close. Riga right behind Hazelton. Hazelton a bit wide on the exit there, a little bit wide, and look at this. Paul Riga right in behind there. Through they go, through the left-hander, penultimate bend, and into this very critical right-hander. Getting the exit here is really important, heading down towards 90. Riga gets a good exit, so as they head down, here they go, down the front straight, over the start, finish line, through they go, into turn 1 then, into the 90 bend, hard on the brakes. Riga goes through then, Riga goes through, Carl Hazelton goes through. But look at that, that is your checkered flag is out, folks. And Paul Riga, did Paul Riga get it there? Looks like he did. Paul Riga getting ahead of Carl Hazelton. So your winner then, Austin Greatorex, number 13. The beautiful drive, a flawless drive, avoiding a lot of the carnage behind, and winning this race. Very impressive indeed. So we're seeing Jamie Woolward's now taking the checkered flag. He's confirmed in 6th position with Magic Goodyear-Scott in 7th. And we see Paul Riga and Carl Hazelton still circulating, but Paul Riga very much, he's already cleared off ahead of Hazelton. So our podium now confirmed then, Austin Greatorex, number 13, your winner, with Mark Phillips getting up to 2nd position. Again, driving a smooth race, avoiding the problems, avoiding the trouble, and getting up into 2nd place. And our newcomer to Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing, Toby Barlow, the number 48, rounding out the podium. So we're just waiting for Paul Riga and Carl Hazelton to come round on their final lap, and we will have a finished order here in Watkins Glen. Real pity for Matthew Goodyear-Scott, the number 7, getting involved in that accident in the going through the S's. Very, very, you completely destructive to his chances of a victory. And also Matt Kilhenny, what can you say? I had him down for a race win, I must be honest, and a little mistake, just got put under pressure by Greater X and just made that little mistake and got caught up in trouble after that, and he finishes down in 9th place. A disaster for Matt Kilhenny. A fascinating race, some proper wheel-to-wheel action. We hope you enjoyed it here at the Porsche Club of Great Britain, and again, finally, a big thank you to our sponsors, Pirelli. Don't forget, when your Porsche needs new tyres, get down to your Porsche Pirelli Performance Centre, and they have a specific tyre for your Porsche. Also Petrol Canada, who produce wonderful performance motor oils and lubricants for your Porsche. And finally, Lockton Insurance, the world's largest privately owned insurance broker, who will be delighted to provide you with a quote for your next renewal. Thank you so much to everyone for watching and for listening, and we'll see you again for another race with the Porsche Club of Great Britain.